Welcome back to the Expansion Edit. I'm Jennifer Flynn, the Balance Maven, Strategic Advisor, Capacity Recalibrator, former Overfunctioner. If episode 1 cracked something open for you, if you felt seen when I named the success trap, today's episode is going to go even deeper. Because now we're talking about one of the most common, costly, and completely normalized patterns I see in founders. Welcome to episode 2, Overfunctioning is not a strategy. Why carrying it all is quietly costing you everything. Let's dive in. Let's talk about overfunctioning. It looks like leadership, feels like responsibility, but it's not a strategy, it's a coping mechanism. And if you don't address it, it will quietly eat your time, your clarity, and your capacity from the inside out. Overfunctioning is one of those things that hides in plain sight. It's not the same as being busy, not the same as being efficient. It's not even always about control. It's about defaulting to doing more than you should, because at some point in your life or your career, doing more is what kept things together. Maybe you became the fixer in your family. Maybe you survived a toxic work culture by always being the one who could carry more. Maybe you just got really good at being the catch-all, the closer, the one who finishes what others drop, the spinner of all plates. And now it's bleeding into your leadership. Here's how I see it showing up in real time in businesses. You're still reviewing every single deliverable that goes out, even though you have a capable team. You're answering questions that somebody else should be trained to handle. You hop into fires that aren't even yours to put out because it's just faster to fix it than it is to train somebody. You spend more time managing people than leading strategy. You micromanage quality, not because you don't trust them, but because you've never fully trusted that the system will hold without you. Sound familiar? You're not alone. Overfunctioning creates 3 major fractures in a business. First one, you become the bottleneck. Your team stops solving problems on their own because they know you'll step in. They don't feel like they can go ahead and solve problems because you haven't transferred the trust or demonstrated that you believe they can solve the problems. As a result, your capacity starts to shrink, and then your clarity goes with it. You become a doer. Second, your business becomes unsellable. If the business only works when you do, there is no exit. You have built a high-paying job for yourself, not a company. And then you start to hate your boss. P.S. That's you. Number 3, you burn out invisibly. You don't collapse dramatically. You just slowly lose access to your spark. You operate, but you're no longer the visionary. You're maintaining, managing, surviving. That's not leadership. That's self-sacrifice disguised as being responsible. So let's talk about why this really becomes a problem when you hit that 7-figure mark. Because overfunctioning can get you to 7 figures, but it can't take you much further. In fact, it becomes a ceiling and a trap. And at this level, your role has to shift from operator to leader, from executor to visionary, from the engine to the architect. But if your nervous system is still wired for overfunctioning, you're going to sabotage that shift without even realizing it. So let's talk truth. Overfunctioning doesn't just happen because you're capable. It's rooted in stories. Stories like, if I don't do it, it won't get done. Or at least it won't get done right. It's just faster if I do it myself. I can't let anything drop. People are counting on me. I don't want to be seen as too much or too hands off. If I stop over delivering, I'll lose my value or my relevance. These are often legacy beliefs, survival patterns, conditioning, maybe from how you grew up, maybe from society at large. They might have served you at some point, but now they're costing you the business you actually want to build. So what do we do about it? Well, first step, as always, is awareness. Start noticing when you jump in, when you fix things, when you overextend, and just track it without judgment. You can keep a pad on your desk, start filtering for those things, and you'll start noticing how often they happen. Use a note on your phone. Whenever it happens, just create an inventory. Just notice what you notice. No judgment. We're just collecting data so we know where to turn the screw. Second, take a look at boundaries. Not rigid walls, but intentional leadership design. Ask yourself, where am I still filling gaps instead of building systems? What's repeatable in my business that I continue to do on my own? Maybe we need an SOP here. Maybe somebody else can be doing it. Maybe you need to actually realize that you need to train somebody to do that thing. Where have I made myself essential in ways that no longer serve the business? Where do I feel guilt or fear around letting go? Third thing, capacity recalibration. This is where we stop asking, how can I do more? And we start asking, what am I no longer available to hold? There was a little joke in my world when I really started saying no to things just in general. And I didn't say this to people per se, but in my own mind, I'm not available for that. And it kind of became a little joke because I would say it internally to my friends and my colleagues, where we would talk about something about, just saying no. And I'd be like, I'm not available for that. And it would just make people laugh because it was me training my own brain to really take stock in, what am I no longer available to hold on to? What am I no longer available to give my energy to? What am I no longer available to give my attention to? Not in a mean way, but in a self-empowering way, in a energetic recalibration way. And this is not about becoming hands-off. It's about becoming clean-handed in how you lead, guide, and rebuild. So let me give you a quick snapshot from a client that I've worked with in the past. Brilliant founder, 7-figure business, fabulous brand, amazing reputation, great team, great company culture. And he came to me saying, I really like that I built this beautiful prison and everyone's happy but me. I'm exhausted. And there was a lot of sarcasm there. And when we audited the leadership and operations, we found that they were still holding 80% of all decisions. They were reviewing every single thing that went out and personally approving every single thing that came in. Why? Because it was faster, felt safer, and it felt easier in a weird way until it wasn't. Now, we didn't tear it all down, but we did realign it step by step. And months later, they had reclaimed more time in their schedule. They stopped jumping into everyone else's fires, and they built systems that the team could lean on and own. As a result, they were able to get 7 weeks of vacation that year when they had previously been taking none. And now it's kind of the new standard operating procedure is that he's taking at least 7 weeks of vacation a year. And that's really important to getting your capacity back. And guess what? Business didn't collapse when he stepped back. It grew and expanded because he finally got out of the way and started generating a team and systems and processes that could do some of the heavy lifting that only he was carrying. So overfunctioning isn't a flex. It's a friction point. And if you're scaling a business that depends on you doing more than you should, you're going to hate what success starts to feel like. So here's your audit question for this week. Where am I still the fallback plan? And what would it look like to lead without carrying it all? In the next episode, we're going to talk about exactly that, capacity recalibration. what it really means to redesign your business around what you can sustainably hold, and how to build something that actually gives more than it takes. You don't have to keep carrying it all. You just have to decide you're done. Let's edit accordingly. We'll see you in the next episode.